I mean, I want to think it's gone well. These are, I would say, for our staff, it's a staff that is eager to learn and grow. One of its trademarks as well thus far has been super athletic. So some of these adjustments that could be difficult at times come a little easier to better athletes. And so when you do look at Griffin Hughes that played middle infield at Cincinnati, he was a two-way player. He's a great athlete, right? So his ability to repeat his delivery for a sustained period of time comes a little easier. The same thing with Brian Walters, right? And then, you go in that bullpen as well. A lot of athletes on the mound. Jackson Cleveland was also a two-way player. So we're excited about the athleticism and just some of the natural abilities that they have.
And with Brian and Nick moving from the bullpen to the rotation, just how have they been working on getting built up?
Yeah, so our approach to building our pitchers' stamina and their ability to throw multiple innings starts in August. That's when they receive their program. The ramp up, which is, as we build them up, is slow and it's steady. And then once we're done with fall ball, they go into a short deload, which means that, the throwing decreases a little, and then the ramp up starts again. So at no point since July 8th is when they got their throwing program, has that conditioning aspect of it stopped. It's been an ongoing process since July 8th.
Just a lot of turnover with the roster. I know that's sort of the name of the game now with NIL, transfer portal, what have you. Just what have been these challenges, and what have you enjoyed about those challenges with basically learning a whole new group of guys?
Listen, and I'm trying to find words because this group has been exceptional, right? And beyond what they show on the field on a daily basis, just the way they interact with each other. I mean, it's truly been refreshing, the way that they're with each other 24/7, the way they pick each other up, the gratitude and a certain level of awe for this place. It's been truly refreshing. And I think part of that is because it's an older group, guys that maybe have performed well, but at the mid-major level. And so they have this great opportunity now to showcase their ability, not only at the Power 4 level, but at a legacy program like this. So it's been awesome. I think the challenge, are things you can't control. Like, how are these guys that are coming from different parts of the country going to be able to get along in a short period of time, right? So I think as coaches and leaders, you have to find ways to build that cohesion and make sure those group dynamics are in place. But man, it came naturally to this group of guys.
Among the freshmen, who have been some of the guys who have maybe caught your eye the most over the last, couple months?
Yeah. AJ Siskar, right-handed pitcher from St. Thomas Aquinas. His ability to really attack the zone, but truly his ability to command within the zone is at a very mature level. You have Michael Fernandez from Gaither High School up in Tampa. Stuff-wise, it's legit from the left-hand side. You're talking about a fastball that could get up to 94 with 2 put-away secondary pitches. You have Tate Darius, another big-time athlete from New Jersey as well, that his level of athleticism allows him to do certain things that maybe you don't see from a kid that's only a freshman. So those are guys that have caught my eye.
Coach, piggyback on something you just said a little bit ago, I wonder what's the correlation between teams where the players get along really well and how that may or may not correlate to winning, and maybe teams where guys bicker and there's different personalities and maybe they win too. I don't know. What do you find about that? Your experience in the game?
I think that's that's $1 million question, right? It's difficult to see. It's a soft skill. You can't measure it. But I could tell you, at least in my experience, and especially, my time in professional baseball, in particular with the Red Sox in 2013 and then 2018, those were two completely different teams. But the one thing they had in common was that chemistry amongst themselves and their group was incredible, and it really stood out. And then as you follow those two groups, in 2014, that chemistry wasn't the same. You had older guys that were on their last year on their contracts, so maybe their focus had changed. And then 2019, again, the chemistry had changed some. And in both of those years, 14 and 19, we finished last in the American League East. So again, it could be confirmation bias, it could be the performance coach in me or the mental skills coach, but I do think that dynamic and that chemistry is critical.
From last year's edition, what are some things you learned during the 2024 season you think are going to help a lot this year?
Yeah, listen, I think the landscape of college baseball has changed so much, specifically at the Division I level. That really stood out to me last year. Obviously I had scouted for the Red Sox, so I was here. I was a student athlete here, but again, different times, late 90s. As a scout, you see it from the outside looking in. And then I had a quick stop at Nova Southeastern University, Division II. This level is so unique. And the one thing that really stood out to me was, aside from talent, you need depth. And if we saw some of the better teams in the ACC, it wasn't 2 or 3 guys in that lineup that you had to concern yourself with. It was all 9 guys, right? So how long that lineup or how deep that lineup was. And then as it pertained to the pitching staff, you saw how these guys were able to go to the bullpen and there wasn't a drop-off, right? So I think those are some of the things that we really took into account as we were putting this roster together, and not only focusing on getting the best players possible, but to ensure that we were deep.
Two more questions for Coach?
Coach, with the way offense is in college baseball now, you have performing pitchers with ERAs over 5. You, as someone who obviously deep into the mental game, how do you kind of keep their confidence and deal with the fact that even with great pitchers, the ball's flying out the ballpark?
Yeah, and listen, these kids aren't new to that, right? They're growing up in this era where even in high school, they're being taught to just swing up and hit the long ball, right? So our guys, again, they've been exposed to that. So I think, number one, that helps us. But I think, number two, one of the things that we preach constantly is, good teams are teams that are able to minimize damage and maximize opportunities, right? So just because we do give up a home run or a couple runs doesn't mean that it's a bad outing, right? So continuing to message that and preach that, how do we do a good job minimizing damage as a pitching staff, so that hopefully that allows us not to get caught up in giving up a long ball.
Last question.
And maybe too early to tell, but these next few weeks, which team do you see giving you most of the challenge?
So I had that train behind, so hopefully I heard you correctly. So what team do I see that would give us the most challenge? God, as soon as the first draft of that schedule came out, I said, holy cow. I would hate to just identify one team. It's a tough schedule. Even this weekend, Niagara, regional club. We got FAU, solid club. And then then you got UConn, you got Florida, and then you have your ACC schedule. It's a tough schedule. And I think, just going back to a couple questions ago, that's why depth is so critical, right? Aside from having talent, we got to make sure that roster's deep and we're able to post, 4 times, and sometimes 5 times a week. So, hopefully we achieve that goal. We feel good about that.